Good morning. Good morning. Oh, good morning. So, what am I doing here? Well, I'm sitting here trying to figure out why my going live does not go live on Facebook. Yeah, Doug. Good morning, Doug. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Doug. Doug says success. Um, yeah, so, yeah, what happened last week? Well, let me tell you. You know that whole Microsoft's crowd whatever thing? Hello, Karina from South Africa. Everybody say hello. So, as the world was collapsing, as the world of Microsoft was collapsing, unknown to me, I was at the Dell. Dell is the brand of computer I use. I was at Dell um, doing some looking for some information and came across uh, the setting that says here, well, analyze your computer. And then when it came up, it said you have a critical BIOS update. I don't know if you guys know what the BIOS is regarding your computer, and I only have a very minimal layman's understanding of it. But when you turn your computer on, it's the BIOS that tells the computer what to do next, how to, where to go to start booting up. Without the BIOS, you got garbage. Well, guess what? The critical update, downloaded, but it failed on the installation. So here it is. It's installing. But halfway through, it fails, which means, which means that, let me back up a second. When the BIOS updates, it wipes the slate clean, gets rid of all the old BIOS, and then it starts to update the new stuff. The update and update and update, and then it failed. Well, it's incomplete. Computer is spazzing. It doesn't know what to do. Took 2 days to get that fixed. 2 days. All right. So that's fixed, which means it was like Saturday before my BIOS thing was updated. So I'm working along and I'm trying to make sure everything is good. And excuse me, it's a bit warm over here. So I'm trying to make sure everything is good and everything is moving along. And I have cats. I had a cat sitting on my desk over here. There's this open space. It's about the size of a cat. Um, but she was stretching and she's getting all comfortable. And she pushed something off the desk. Well, it fell on the floor, made a loud noise. And the cat spazzed. And in her spaz and her immediate need to leave the area because she thought, her life was in danger, she with her claws grabbed up wires, cables. I don't, it just cat spaz. And she killed one of my flash drives. They don't last forever. So, just a heads up, people. Um, do backups. And good morning. Good morning, Letty. Good morning. I was just talking about my computer woes for the week. So anyway, she spazzed in her hi Diane. Yes, I am feeling better, and my computer seems to be better too. Um, she killed my flash drive. Well, that flash drive, that flash drive contained the access to my OneDrive, which is my cloud server. And what's on that server? All of my files, all of my client files, all of my embroidery files. So now I can't access those files. I can go directly to OneDrive and then download one at a time. But I've got over 3,000 folders of files. And in those folders is another file and another file. All right. Oh my God. So I've been dealing with computers all week. I'm sorry. Oh, Letty, the shop's PC won't start up. Oh, Letty, I feel you, girl. I feel you. Um, so I was functional, which means I could get into my embroidery software, but I couldn't access any files except to download them one at a time. So bought myself a 2 terabyte external drive that I have moved my OneDrive files to so I can access them there. So the thing is if you leave OneDrive on your primary hard drive, um, it it copies all of your files onto that drive. So you have them in the cloud and you have them on your C drive. Well, that takes up so much space, and um, I was getting low storage space on my hard drive. So I had to move it. So I moved it over to an external drive that died. Now, here we go. You ready for the last one? This was just last night. I had a client and I thought everything was good. I had a client come and say, I need a slight size change, a slight editing. Well, I do that. So I go to bring the file into my software and they were gone. All of them. All of them. The OneDrive was gone. The flash drive had already died. They weren't on the new 2 terabyte external. Did I accidentally delete them? Why would I do that? Well, evidently I did, but I found them. They were in a recovery bin. Oh my God. So even though I have a backup, oh, speaking of backups, I do have a backup. Only I did a plug and play kind of thing 2 years ago and pretty much haven't checked on it since. It stopped backing up last year sometime. All right, so don't trust anything. All right, so I'm back. I'm up and running. I have video. Still working on the whole why isn't. Are you guys watching me on Facebook or YouTube? I know I've asked this before, but I'm going to ask again. Are you watching on Facebook or YouTube? Because I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the Facebook Live. So while you guys are responding to that, we're going to go on to Diane, thank you, Facebook. That's good. We're going to go on to talk about, and Cindy's on YouTube, push and pull. Doug had asked for this. Doug, are you still here? Doug. So this one's for you, friend. All right. Push and pull. YouTube. Karina's on YouTube. All right. Push and pull. When you create an embroidery design, a couple of things happen. As the needle is penetrating the fabric, boom, 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 the presser foot is pushing the fabric ahead of it. Oh, Doug's in at the Redwood Forest, somewhere in California. Well, I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made it. Oh, hang on a second. Let's go back to Letty for a moment. It somehow overwrites the C drive as well. It can be awful, and it kept overwriting. Oh my God, Letty. Oh, oh, Letty. Okay, so, so, um, the needle is penetrating. Boom, 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 and the presser foot is moving forward, backwards, forward, and backwards. And what it's doing is it's pushing the fabric, push, and then it comes back, it pulls, and it pushes, and it pulls. So, hey, Barb. Oh, so good to see you. Everybody say hi to Barb. So, this happens naturally. Push and pull happens naturally. You can't get away from it. You can minimize it, but you will always have push and pull. With um, with satin stitches, the columns, I want you to think of those columns like laces on your shoes. You know, your trainers. That's a term that they use in Frank's neighborhood. We call them tennis shoes or sneakers. They call them trainers, but they have laces, right? And when you go to tie your shoe, you cinch up the laces, make them nice and tight against your foot. YouTube. Thank you, Letty. So you make them nice and tight against your foot, and they cinch in, right? They cinch in when you pull the laces tight. So as they're cinching in, all that fabric's got to go someplace. So it pushes out the top. You know, a satin column is just that. It's a column. Think of it like a tube of thread. You know, it's a tube of thread. And as you squeeze that tube, something's got to go. You know, tube of thread and it pushes. All right. So that's the overview. Now, Doug wanted to see some samples. I have some samples for you. Let me go into here. Ta-da! What I did to help you visualize this is I created a file of 2-inch circles. Now, as you can see over here, I created that file so that each one stitched separately, each circle stitched separately, so it would not be affected. It would not affect in a moment, Doug, it would not affect the one that was going to stitch behind it. So that particular fabric where it was going to stitch was isolated from the other fabric. All right. So it would stitch here, and whatever effect it was going to have on the fabric has already happened. So it would stitch here and so on. Doug wants to know if the underlay affects your push and pull, if any. And yes, it does to a minute degree. Remember your underlay. Let's see if we can do this. Your underlay. Oh, open this up. Your underlay is your foundation of your design file. Think of it like the foundation to your house. I don't know if you can see it, but here is a line of underlay. And it generally goes 45 degrees from whatever your stitch angle is. So yes, it's going to have some minimal pushing and pulling as it's stitching. But because these stitches, they're minimal, they're a longer stitch, they're spaced further apart, they don't have the same type of effect. So, you know, it's quite likely if I were to stitch the same design with no underlay and a 4 millimeter gap in my density. Let's see if we can find this one. Yeah. All right. Let's get rid of the underlay on this one. Yay. And let's change the fill to a 4. Okay. This is just to give you an idea. So it's going to stitch up this way, but it's not really laying a lot of stitches. Just one line of stitches every 4 millimeters. So yes, it will have some push, but it's going to be very, very minimal. We're going to go back and to fit the hoop. So what I did here again, 2-inch circles. I put a cross across the sections, and I put a circle around it. And I did that for the stitch out. And the black outlines, the black running stitches, happen after the green. And I did that because whatever effect the green was going to have on the fabric has already happened when I lay down the black. All right. I did 4 of them, one at 0 degrees, one at 90 degrees, 45 degrees, and 136 degrees. So what happened? Just so the yellow shows you the direction of the degree, and the green arrows show you the direction that the push and pull is going to happen. So for your in this situation with 0 degrees, your pulling is going to happen in this direction. It's going to pull to the center from both sides to the center, and it's going to push out the bottom and the top. 90 degrees is going to pull bottom to tops to the center, and then it's going to push out left and right. I am 1 degree off. Am I 1 degree? Well, Doug, you got the point. It's okay. Oh, are you saying it should be 135? Sorry, people. People, this is a 5. It's okay. All right, so that's giving you an idea of the push and pull and the directions you're going to see. And here it is. All right. Let me make this bigger. Can I make this bigger for you? Can you see how it's pulling in? Here it's pulling in, and you can see that because, and to help visualize this, I put this stitch out on top of a lighted background so that, it would shine up through the fabric. You can see the effect of the pull here. You can't really see it too much here, but trust me, these red stitches go beyond our black outline. Over here, it's pulling in to the center from bottom and top, and it's pushed out edge to edge. It's pushing out. Oh no, here it is. Pushing out, pulling in. Pulling in, pushing out. Can you see all of that? Now, this does not give a big dramatic look, but you can see how if you increase the density, if you the more stitches, the more effect you have. All right. You can see how this circle is no longer a circle. It's an oval. It would be more visibly distorted if it were smaller when you stitch it out, or if it was if it was small enough to be a 7 millimeter satin. Oh, speaking of satin, here you go. Let's go back for a second. Let me go back. And I wanted to show you the satin also. Of course, your satin, your best stitch for a satin is, what happened here? Come on, give it back. Is a 0 stitch angle. That's because a satin, it looks nice when it climbs a ladder, and each one of these is a rung of the ladder, so it goes left and right and left and right and left and right. Remember, it's gonna cinch up, which means that this satin, which I created, wait a minute, what are you doing here, huh? This satin, which I created at 5 millimeters, is not going to measure 5 millimeters when it's stitched. And we did the same thing. We put a black outline around it. And you can see here, it's extended past. I wish I'd moved the knot of this outline. Sorry about that. I should have put it over on the side. But what you can't see is that this red, there are 2 rungs of ladder that go beyond. One goes directly under our black outline. The other one goes beyond. That happens on both sides. And you see it's narrower than our 5 millimeters. So it cinched, it pulled in, and it pushed out through the end. Where are we? Doug, does that help answer your questions about push and pull? I want to show you a real life example. Hang on. So, most of you know I have a brand new machine. Yay! It has this massively huge 20 by 16 stitch area using a really huge hoop. So I thought, let's see if we can't do something with that. So I'm developing a line of jacket back patches. And this is my first patch. Now, we've all seen these patches before, the skeleton. The thing that makes mine different from all the rest is, you're right, Doug. Running stitches are not nearly as affected by push and pull because it's a single stitch. It's a length of stitches. If you were to put 3,000 runs next to each other, yes, it's going to start to push. Yeah, maybe this will help. Thank you, Cindy. Your fabric, whether it's a knit or a woven, here, let's get that distraction out of the way. Your fabric, whether it's a knit or a woven, has been created to be flat, perfectly flat. So what do we do as embroiderers when we come back behind that? We force thousands of stitches into this fabric. And our ultimate goal is that it's still going to be relatively flat. But when you're pushing all of those stitches in there, something's got to give. And the fabric is what gives. Push and pull. Does that help? All right, let's go back to the skeleton. So this patch, and it will be a patch. Oh, let me go back. Most of them that you see like this, they show the front of the ribs, right? Well, it's a jacket back. So I thought it was important to show the scapulas and the full spine and the ribs going around to the front versus the back. Yeah. So I built this up. I'm going to use, you're very welcome, Doug. I'm going to use glow-in-the-dark thread for these darker areas. And I'm actually kind of rethinking the fills, but that's a different story. But anyway, so did I mention that this thing is 19 by, how big is it? It is 15 by 20. Thank you, Cindy. I got a couple of more ideas too. 15 by 20. That's pretty big. That's going to fill up the back of somebody's jacket. So I started stitching it, and I stitched all the pink areas, and then I started stitching the outlines. And you want to know what I got? I stopped it. I stopped it because here's the hoop. I stopped it because, can you see this? Let me come back here. Can you see this right here? That's the start of these outlines of these ribs up here. They're out of registration. They are completely out of registration. And if you look, I don't know if you can see this, but do you see these running stitches? Yeah, out of registration. Massively hill. So what do I need to do to correct this? Doug, I get my twill from the Embroidery Nerds. It's the same twill that they use for patches. And of course, why is it out of registration, Cindy? I'll tell you. Because I stitched all the fill. Remember back in our example here, our 2-inch rounds, we stitched all the fill. So whatever effect it was going to have on the fabric was done by the time it got to the outline so that you could see the positioning. I stitched all the fill, adding whatever number of stitches this is, and it affected the fabric by pushing it. But the satin columns, the border pieces or the outlines could not accommodate for that. They did not adjust for where that new edge line was. That's where the digitizer, comes into play. How do we do this? How do I get this registration, this line, back where it belongs? Oh, no, it's going to be more complicated than that. Cindy suggested a global underlay. It's going to be a little more complicated than that because it's so big. And this same theory holds true with other smaller designs that have multiple elements. And then you want to come back and put an outline around things. you'll find embroidery designs that are um, built in sections, and it's done that way so that the push and pull is minimized to allow the the borders, the outlines to lay where they need to be. So here's my design file. Looks great on screen. Hold on, we're going to go back over here to Karina's. I had a big eagle that I did and also changed each object so that the angles went differently, but it still didn't work. I did a global underlay, and after each object, I did the outline, and only then did it work. Right, because you broke it down into smaller pieces, which is what we're going to do here. So I stitched all of this. This is my whole design file. And it's perfect on screen. But as we saw, the registrations weren't going to work. So what do I have to do? I have to break it down into smaller bits. I need to build it. And what I wanted to mention is you're going to find that digitizers will provide you with a design file that maybe repeats the same color sequence, black, white, green, black, white, green, black, white, green. And they do that for a reason. And then if you, the user of that file, come along and you resort, so all the blacks stitch first, or all the greens stitch first, all the whites stitch up, it'll go out of registration. Because now they can't compensate for each other. So what do I need to do with this? I need to break it up into sections. I'm going to start with, and I need to think about this pathing so that each section is going to build the way it needs to build. For example, these two columns need to come under this column. Oh, you can't see a thing, can you? So let me go back. So I need to build it in sections. And that's what I did here for you. I color-coded my sections. I'm going to start with this section. And again, I need to think about the pathing. I need to think about the pathing because these satins need to come under these satins. But this all needs to come under here. And then everything needs to come under the spine elements. So I stitched this one first. And I stitched this one. What am I doing here? Yep. And I'm going to have the same issue if I do my patch border. If I do my patch border at the very end, I'm going to have the same registration issues. So what do? Well, I break up the border too. Okay? And I make sure that this border is going to cover this edge. We go again, and we have another border. You see how this is working? We go again, and again, and another border. We have another piece here. And what you're not seeing is that my borders, my outlines. Oh, sorry. Um, Cindy wants to know what kind of stabilizer I use. I always use a cutaway when I'm doing patches. And I always use just one layer. Um, Even with 2 layers, this design, if I was trying to stitch it out, one total piece would still lose registration. So the way you're breaking up the design, you could do it in multiple hoopings for people that don't have. Yes, yes. Um, let's see here. The largest part is the scapula. How big is the scapula area? You would need an 8 by 12 hoop for the scapula area. It might be a little tight. For those that are working with smaller hoops, we might want to shrink this about 20% and make that make the scapula 11.5 inches tall. But yes, it could be broken out into multiple hoopings. So again, we're going to stitch, patch border, tailbone. My husband wanted to know if I was going to put pelvic bones on this design file. And I thought about it and I thought, no, not necessary. And he said that if I did, I would have to identify whether this was a girl skeleton or a boy skeleton because the pelvic bones are different. This is a generic non-genderized skeleton. But you see how each section is built in a smaller manner so as not to lose registration. Once it's done, I will post it on my Facebook profile so you can all see how it turned out. Now, here's something that I've been thinking about. Remember, I said I was looking at making these large patches to sew, right? Might as well do something with this space. So I was thinking about a mixed media applique patch on a black background. Black. Instead of filling in all the bones, I'm thinking about using HTV, heat transfer vinyl, either a glitter or a sparkle, with the outlines using glow in the dark thread. How will my edges be finished? Are you asking, Cindy, that after this patch is done and I cut it out, how will I finish the edges because this is a woven fabric and it will have a tendency to ravel? Is that what you're asking? Um, Sparkles, I know. Um, Flame. Flame. Um, I use a polyester uh, polyester cutaway stabilizer, and I use a polyester fabric. And the reason I do that I have my little flame thing here. Oh, I even have a pair of scissors. I keep a lot of stuff at my desk. But you just never know. Let's see. Doo, doo, doo. We're just going to cut some of this fabric off. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? Let's see. Who was it that told me that I should keep? I'm fraying the edges. Oh yes, Cindy. I use at least when I'm doing patches, I use at least a 4 millimeter satin border, and on larger patches, I may go up to 6 millimeters. And for those borders, I increase the density. I use an edge run underlay along with a double zigzag. And I do that to make sure that everything catches. All right, let's see if we can do this. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. I use a flame. Maybe that'll work. I know this is not. Oh, I just killed it. Oh, I'll have to try to fix that. Fire. All right. Well, anyways, it'll sear the edges. You know, it's polyester. Here's her next question. Cindy wants to know price wise, would it be better to buy the home deco fabric from Joann's, like you sent me a sample? Coupon right now. Yeah, that's because it's also a polyester and it makes a beautiful patch too. I like to buy it in the white and the black. But yeah, it's handy. No shipping. I have to head out that way myself. I have to go get some sparkle vinyl. Are there any other questions? Um, Doug, if you're still here, did we cover your push and pull questions? Yeah, I'm going to, now that my computer issues are hopefully resolved, um, I feel free to leave. I want to do this patch project. Yeah, especially since the patch is so large. Yes, and I did some pricing on this. The one thing about patches, people, is you really, oh, Letty has polyester that she gets at the Amish store. Letty, I so want to come visit your shop. We have to make a special plan for maybe a spring open house or something. And you can invite all of us, and I would be there. I am putting that in my schedule tentatively. You're penciled in, and we'll firm it up when you have everything in place. I am so excited for you. Um, okay, so I'm so excited. I want to see your shop. Okay, so if that's it, I think we got it covered. I'm going to race over to my local Michael's Hobby Lobby and Joann's. We do need a nerd getaway. And Doug, I'm so glad you're still here. Did we cover everything? All right. All right. Oh, allergy season. For me, allergy season is like all year long. Okay. It wasn't really a flame thingy, Doug. It's working again. It's a rechargeable, thank you, Cindy. It's a rechargeable that, it's a rechargeable that uses an electric connection, and I can use it to either flame up my uh, spirit lamp, or if I'm really careful, I use it to take down one or two uh, one or two pieces of thread at a time. But I think I featured this in one of my videos. If you want, Doug, send me a message and I'll send you a link so you can get it yourself. In the meantime, everybody, you have a great weekend. You have a wonderful week. If you have any questions, if you're if you have something that you want to put together or you're not quite sure how to do, or you think would be worthwhile for the masses, let me know and we'll put a show together about it. Okay, let me go get my music. Wasn't that fun? Do you have more questions? Do you want to learn something new? Join me at quicktostitch.com for coffee and conversation, and we'll talk about it. Embroidery machines, designs, and business. Hope to see you soon. Bye now.